Chapter 6, President for a Square Deal. Newspaper writers had always liked Teddy. He did so many unusual things that he often made news. The Spanish-American War added to Teddy's fame. He was a great hero. By the end of 1898, he had been elected governor of New York. Voters loved Teddy. Reporters loved to write about him, but Republican leaders weren't so sure they trusted him as governor. Teddy was too popular and hard to control. He did what he thought was right, not what the party leaders wanted him to do. The leaders had an idea. In the next election, Teddy should be President McKinley's running mate for vice president. They thought he might listen more to Republican Party leaders as a vice president than he did as the governor of New York. The McKinley-Roosevelt team won the election. They took office on March 4, 1901. But the team didn't last too long. On September 6, President McKinley was shot. He died 8 days later. Theodore Roosevelt became the President of the United States. Teddy was 42 when he became the youngest U.S. president. As president, he surprised everyone. He tried to make the country do what he thought it should. He used power in a new way. First, he went after the railroads. He wanted to make sure they didn't join together to set high prices. When companies compete for customers, prices go down. If companies agree not to compete, prices go up. That's a monopoly and it's against the law. For years, many businesses had ignored the law. Teddy changed that. He told business owners that they must not join together to keep prices high. They would have to compete against one another for customers, or he would make sure they were brought to trial. He began with the railroads, but he didn't stop there. As president, he used the law 45 times. Far and away, the best prize that life offers is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy used his power again to end a strike in the coal mines of Pennsylvania. Miners had stopped working because they wanted to be paid more and to work only 8 hours a day. Teddy gives a speech. The men in hats are newspaper reporters. Remember, this was before radio and television. It was also before there were many female reporters. Teddy was always interested in helping to better the lives of children as well as adults. The owners wanted them to work more hours. The mine owners said they would not talk to the miners. They would just wait until the strikers gave up. But winter was coming. Teddy knew that people needed coal to make heat. He said the owners had to talk to the miners. If they didn't, Teddy would bring in U.S. soldiers to work in the mines. The mines would run, but the owners would not get paid. So the owners gave in. If you should ever visit North Dakota, perhaps you will see Theodore Roosevelt National Park. The park was named in honor of the president because of his love of the outdoors and of nature. The park covers 70,447 acres in the wilderness of North Dakota. Today, the park is part of the National Park System, a U.S. government agency that is part of the Department of the Interior. The workers got better pay and an 8-hour day. Teddy wasn't trying to favor the workers over the owners. He did what he thought was fair. He said all people should have a square deal, a fair one. Teddy's great plans. It's no surprise that Teddy also used his power to protect nature. As president, he set aside about 230 million acres of land. From Puerto Rico to Alaska, there are wild areas you can visit today because Teddy made them into parks a century ago. Teddy had another great plan. He wanted to build a canal in Central America. In 1900, sailing from Florida to California took a very long time. Ships had to travel all the way around Central and South America. The trip was about 15,000 miles. Yellowstone, which was opened in 1872, was the first national park in the world. The national park system includes natural and historic sites spread across the U.S. Today, there is a national park in every state but Delaware. For a listing of national parks, visit the website at www.nps.gov. Visiting California. Teddy Roosevelt is dwarfed by the giant sequoia trees. Teddy wanted to build a shortcut. Panama was the best place for it. In Panama, a very narrow strip of land separates the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But there was a problem. Panama was part of another country, Colombia. Colombia didn't want the U.S. to build a canal, so the people of Panama decided to break away from Colombia. Teddy sent U.S. soldiers to help Panama fight. When Panama became a separate country, the U.S. could build the canal. Work on the canal began in 1904. Teddy was re-elected as president the same year. In 1914, the first ships sailed through the canal. Now ships could move more quickly around the world. The canal helped the U.S. become a world power. During his second term, Teddy kept up his conservation work. He helped make it illegal to sell food and drugs that were not pure and clean. A Man, a Plan, a Canal, Panama. The canal took 10 years to build. In 1906, Teddy told canal workers, "This is one of the great works of the world. It is greater than you yourselves at the moment realize." And in 1906, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, a very important award, for helping to end a war between Russia and Japan. Teddy used the power of his office in a new way. He helped make laws that were fair for everyone. He pushed the country to act like a world power. Teddy and the Big Stick. Teddy had a favorite saying based on an African proverb: "Speak softly and carry a big stick. You will go far." If you were strong and willing to use your strength, people would listen to you. You didn't have to make threats. A strong country was one that could use force if it had to. The big stick policy meant that Teddy could tell others what to do. This worked on U.S. business leaders and on leaders of other countries. Chapter 7: Teddy and the Bull Moosers. Teddy left the White House in 1909. He wondered what he should do with his life now. He was only 50 years old. He felt that was much too young to stop working and retire. Teddy wanted to do something unusual, so he decided to go hunting in Africa with his grown son Kermit. Teddy wrote about his trip for a magazine, and he took along 3 animal experts to ship back the animals he killed. Today, the wild animals of Africa have been overhunted. Many of them are in danger of becoming extinct. On the road to Africa, Teddy got to ride a camel during his trip. It's against the law to kill most of them now, but in 1909 there were many more animals. No one thought it was wrong to hunt them. Teddy and Kermit killed 512 animals. There were lions, elephants, zebras, and many more. The experts sent the animals to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., and the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Teddy and Kermit sit on top a water buffalo they killed on their trip to Africa. Back then, no one thought about the possibility of animals dying out. Teddy runs again. Teddy and Kermit headed home in June 1910. Teddy began making speeches all over the country for the Republican Party. He still had strong ideas about everything. Some of his ideas went against the Republicans' plan. It was almost time for the next presidential election. Teddy decided to run again, but the Republicans did not want him to be their candidate, so Teddy ran on the smaller Progressive Party ticket. At that time, American women could not vote. Many children worked rather than going to school. People could be made to work long hours. The progressives said these things were wrong. Teddy was feeling strong and in good health. He felt as fit as a bull moose. People began to call his party the Bull Moosers. One night, Teddy was on his way to make a speech in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, when a man shot him. Teddy would not go to a hospital. Instead, he gave the speech with a bullet in his right lung. The crowd was amazed when they found out he was wounded. At the end of his talk, he went to the hospital. Doctors said it was safer to leave the bullet where it was than to operate. Although Teddy was very popular, he lost the election. Woodrow Wilson, a Democrat, became the 28th president. Teddy and his bear. Teddy always loved hunting, whether in Africa or closer to home. In 1902, he went on a bear hunt in Mississippi. He couldn't find a bear. Finally, he had the chance to shoot a small bear that had been trapped. Teddy said it wouldn't be fair. 2 days later, a cartoon was printed in a newspaper. It showed Teddy refusing to shoot a little bear. This gave a toy store owner an idea. He offered a stuffed bear for sale. A sign said, "Teddy's Bear," and so the teddy bear was born. Chapter 8: Teddy and the One and Only. After the election, Teddy took another trip with Kermit and a group of explorers. This time they went to South America. Teddy wanted to explore a river in Brazil called the River of Doubt. No one had mapped it yet. It would be a dangerous trip, and Teddy was not healthy. He still had the bullet in his lung. His eyesight was failing, but his love of adventure won out. He said, "It's my last chance to be a boy again." The River of Doubt. A trip to Brazil provided a thrilling adventure for Teddy. They headed for the rainforest. Once they began to explore the river, they had no idea where it would lead them. The river was full of rushing rapids. The forest was full of biting insects. Several people died on the trip. Teddy was almost one of them. He hurt his leg badly and he caught a dangerous sickness. Teddy knew that it would be hard for the others to take a sick man out of the jungle. He told his son to leave him behind, but Kermit refused. He and the others carried Teddy out of the jungle. In the end, the trip was a success. Teddy and his group had completed the trip on the unexplored river. The government of Brazil renamed it Roosevelt River. The explorers had brought back thousands of animals for scientists to study. But at the end of the trip, Teddy was in very poor health. His leg never healed completely. The tropical fever that he caught in the jungle kept coming back. Farewell, Teddy. In 1917, the U.S. entered World War I. Teddy wanted to do his part, but it was too late for him. There was nothing he could do to help out. All of Teddy's sons went to fight. In 1918, his son Quentin was killed. Teddy was proud of his son, but his heart was broken. Fast facts. Presidential firsts. Teddy takes his first plane trip. Theodore Roosevelt was the first president to fly in an airplane, own a car, use a typewriter, go on a submarine, travel outside the U.S. while president, use a camera, win a Nobel Prize, create national monuments, and invite an African American to dine at the White House. The war ended in November 1918. 2 months later, on January 6, 1919, Teddy died peacefully in his sleep. He was 60 years old. Teddy had always loved life. To him, it was an adventure. Teddy was brave and curious. He worked as hard as anyone could. He was a strong leader. He always did what he thought was right. Teddy loved the United States and was willing to die for it. And yet, he always had the spirit and optimism of a young child. The U.S. had many colorful, inspiring, and wonderful leaders, but there has only been one like Theodore Roosevelt. In 1970, Teddy was the star of a big parade in Chicago. He was honored for his explorations and for all his good works. Interview talking about Teddy. Time for Kids editor Catherine Satterfield spoke with Charles Marcus. He works at Sagamore Hill, which is run by the National Park Service. Question. Why should we be grateful to Theodore Roosevelt when we visit national parks? Answer. The idea of setting aside areas in nature was first suggested by Theodore Roosevelt. He set an example that was followed by every president since his time. Question. In the conservation world, what was Theodore Roosevelt's most important achievement? Answer. He set aside 230 million acres of land for national parks, wildlife lands, and forests. That's about the size of the states on the East Coast from Maine to Florida. Question. What would be his message to kids? Answer. Enjoy the natural world. Learn from it. Question. Why is it important to set aside places such as Sagamore Hill in addition to wilderness areas? Answer. We better understand people's actions when we understand how they lived. It makes history real for us. It's what I call time travel. When you walk into Roosevelt's study and you see his pictures, his desk, and his possessions, you feel a connection. His life and his spirit are there. Visitors to California Yosemite National Park can thank Teddy Roosevelt for starting the movement to preserve wilderness areas. Monuments such as the Statue of Liberty are also run by the National Park Service. Theodore Roosevelt's key dates. 1858, born on October 27th in New York City. 1865, the U.S. Civil War ends. 1897, named Assistant Secretary of the Navy. 1898, leads Rough Riders in Spanish-American War, elected Governor of New York. 1900, elected Vice President. 1901, McKinley shot, Roosevelt becomes President. 1903, the Wright brothers fly the first powered airplane. 1904, elected President, begins Panama Canal. 1906, wins Nobel Peace Prize. 1909, explorers Robert E. Peary and Matthew Henson reach the North Pole. 1912, loses race for the presidency. 1919, dies on January 6 in Oyster Bay, New York.